And joining me now from Cornwall Tourism is Kevin Lajoie. Welcome to the show, Kevin.
Hi, Gabe. Thanks for having me on. Great to be with you.
All right, so some exciting news last week, an influx of dollars for Cornwall Tourism. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, really exciting news for us, Gabe. We received us and along with our neighbors from SDG over $258,000 in funding from the Tourism Industry Association of Ontario. So really exciting news. This is to help kind of offset some of the economic disruptions we felt in the office in tourism from COVID-19, from the pandemic. So we applied. Like I say, there was us and SDG. We're one of more than 50 destination marketing organizations in Southern Ontario to receive money through this fund. So we're super excited about it.
And you alluded to it, but of course it goes without saying just how important this is. We know that tourism is one of the hardest hit sectors right now as people are basically staying still.
You're right. Yeah, you're right. It's been one of the hardest hit sectors, and we're slowly starting to see signs of rebounds. Of course, there's still a long way to go with our accommodations. We have attractions that are still closed. The service industry and as a whole, whether it's restaurants or different businesses, still even trying to figure out the new lay of the land, with new regulations and keeping public health guidelines in mind. So it's by no means, there's no clear end in sight yet, but this is, I think, a good first step, to help recovering. And that's our intent with using some of these funds, at least, to help kind of kickstart that recovery if we can.
Absolutely. So what sort of things might this money be put into in terms of programming or?
Yeah, so we're looking, actually, it's almost like a whole 180 on tourism this year, at least. Is we're really focusing on the local thing, the hyper local thing, the staycations. To, like, at least to begin with, we're going to start with that stage of it, is to even just talk to our own residents or nearby residents in Eastern Ontario to kind of explore your own backyard, rediscover, if you will, some of the gems we have in the city and region. So if maybe people who have put off holidays or vacations that they had planned, what better time to support local and get out there and see your own backyard. So that's going to be a big part of it to begin with, is that kind of hyper local focus. And then as we see things evolve and hopefully as the economy continues to reopen, then we will look at expanding beyond that, speaking more to a regional audience. So Eastern Ontario and a bit further on, or across the province. And then again, as things evolve, eventually trying to go more national or even international with us here at the border, right? So it's going to be a kind of a staged approach, I guess you could say. And stage one will be local. So we're going to be doing some different marketing projects and tactics and advertising and promotions. So people will see a lot of stuff coming from us and SDG in the next few months.
And we know we've seen an even bigger push for that local support in terms of supporting local businesses and other things. And we know that we have a lot of gems in this community that maybe people aren't super aware of. So for instance, we'll put you on the spot. We'll use an example. So I'm taking 2 weeks off in July. What should I do right here in Cornwall and area, Kevin?
Yeah, there's so many things, right? So one thing we're blessed with, especially in Cornwall and SDG, is the outdoor adventure stuff, right? So whether it's cycling, we have world-class cycling right along the waterfront. If you're into fishing, you won't find a better place for freshwater fishing, right? Camping, golf, scuba diving, even, you name it. There's so many great outdoor experience type things that we can offer. And then shopping, dining, we got all kinds of really cool shops and restaurants. We have attractions that are slowly starting to reopen. So, Upper Canada Village announced that they're going to be reopening soon. Cornwall Community Museum is going to be reopening soon. Places like Archie's, right? These are a lot of these places, Gabe, are places that, families and relatives and friends have gone to for ages. But maybe if you haven't been there in a few years, the Village is a good example. If you haven't been to Upper Canada Village in a couple of years, what better time to, make a plan of spending a day, booking an appointment, going and checking it out, and rediscovering some of that great stuff. It's always, you can go to places over and over, but you tend to always discover something new each time you go. So we got a ton of great stuff that people can still do, and hopefully people will take advantage of that.
Absolutely. And
I don't know if I gave you a full agenda there for 2 weeks, but we could talk offline. I can get you a whole itinerary if you want.
Absolutely, and of course, I know top of the list will be Cornwall pizza and poutine when we get going. But you talked to me a little bit about that variety, and of course, there is something to do for whether you're new to the area and you've retired, or you're a young family with kids. So talk to me a little bit about that and how there is something for everybody.
Yeah, well, that's again, I think where where we are well positioned right now, especially if you picture this whole situation from the point of view of a family or a more senior couple that, they might be in a bigger market, a bigger city like Ottawa or Toronto even, been stuck in a big city for 3 months now, 4, very limited ability to get outside, to get outdoors. And then when they do, they're still in a big city, right? So I think what an advantage we have here in our area, a town like Cornwall and SDG around us is, we have that open air, we have space, we have the waterfront, the beautiful river. I think that appeals to people of all ages, or families, or people of all ages, right? So even visiting a berry farm to pick berries, visiting a winery, visiting a brewery like Bourbon, cycling, getting out, enjoying the fresh air and that space around you, knowing that you could come here and be safe. You could enjoy activities and still respect those social distancing, the physical distancing guidelines. Know that you can participate and enjoy it in a safe way. The Longsu Parkway, whether it's driving through there or cycling. I really think cycling is a great example. That's an activity that, you can be 100% in, fully involved, or you can do it just recreationally, right? Just to go out and look for a little bit of exercise and enjoyment. So yeah, I think we have enough to check all the boxes for different demographics, and that's the exciting part. Now it's just to help get the word out and reinforce just how important it is to get people out, and at the same time, it's that feeling of knowing that you're supporting the local businesses too, and they can really use the support right now.
Absolutely, and let's just elaborate a little bit more on that. Just the importance of whether if you're here in the community, of getting out to support a lot of these businesses and places.
Yeah, well, like as we talked about, a lot of these places had to either shut their doors completely for a period of time, some still are closed and looking at ways to reopen, or they have reopened, but it's under a different model, right? They, if you think of some of the restaurants in town, how before they had the indoor dining area, they had the outdoor dining area. Now that's been limited for a little while now to the outdoor piece, and just the whole financial model they're working from has changed, right? The game's changed. So the key now is to ensure that they can survive and that they have money coming in, that they can retain their employees, that they can continue to operate their business. So whether it's restaurants, whether it's shops, we got so many really cool places offering unique things, right? I don't want to start naming them off, because then it's like, how come you didn't mention this one or that one? But I know even personally, I'm from here and I try to support local when I can. And even just through this last couple of months, I've discovered or rediscovered stores that have blown my mind. Well, I guess one example, I shouldn't do this because I just said I wouldn't, but there's a bookstore, Red Cart Books, on Pitt Street, north of downtown, in the 800 block. But the lady has an amazing selection, awesome titles. It's one of those things that I didn't really look for until now. And then when I walked in, my mind was blown just with the selection, and super nice lady running the business. So that's just one example. There's dozens more, hundreds more probably within Cornwall SDG, and there's no better time to kind of get out there and explore all this stuff. So.
Absolutely, and despite the crisis, one thing we could mention as well is that we have had some outside recognition for some of our infrastructure and attractions. So there was a month or two back, we were recognized by, I believe it was like Bike Ontario.
Yeah, that was extremely good news. That was Chesley's Inn downtown. Robert Proust, the innkeeper, he was, and the business was recognized by Ontario by Bike as Eastern Ontario's most bicycle-friendly business. So. And to them, Eastern Ontario is basically from the Quebec border all the way to Prince Edward County, and a bit north too. The region actually excludes Ottawa, but you're capturing basically the whole of Eastern Ontario. So to be able to say that you have the most bicycle-friendly business or accommodation in Eastern Ontario is a pretty big deal. So we get to talk to Robert often. And in a typical summer, he sees a lot of cycle tourists that come here, either for a day, a night, a weekend. Maybe it's a group of friends or a family. They do a bit of cycling. Afterwards, they head out for dinner downtown or at a restaurant in the area. Maybe check out a few attractions along the way. So it's huge. I'm extremely happy for Robert. He's put a lot of work into that business, and for him to be recognized by that entity is definitely great news. And again, for us going forward, just marketing Cornwall and the region as a cycling destination, it definitely helps there too.
Absolutely. And just finally, Kevin, we know that normally you'd be setting up shop in the Cornwall Museum right now with the Visitor Center, but if people are looking for more information for these staycations and to support all these local attractions, how can they contact Cornwall Tourism or learn more?
Yeah, so the best bet is our website, cornwalltourism.com. We have a contact us form. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You can direct message us there. You can give us a call as well, 938-4748. We will not be in the museum as we have been in past summers for a few different factors, but they will be reopening for museum tours. But what we are looking at doing is having a more mobile presence. So you will likely see Cornwall Tourism out on bicycles, or even walking or setting up temporarily at different spots around the city. And of course, we're going to do all this with public health guidelines in mind, and keeping distance and doing it safely, of course. So we don't want anyone to think that we're going to ignore the rules. But when there's a chance for us to get out there and talk to people, we're going to still try to do that in different ways. We're going to try to get creative about it this summer. The best bet for now, though, Gabe, is cornwalltourism.com. And actually, if people go there, we're starting to add more content too, some ideas for day trips and itineraries and things to do, outdoor adventures you could take on. We're going to be adding more content in the weeks to come. So that's for people looking for ideas for that local staycation. That's a great place to start. Appreciate you letting me mention that too. Thank you.
Not a problem. On that note, Kevin, thank you so much for joining me. Always a pleasure. And this is the time, this is the opportunity, sort of silver lining for us to rediscover our own area and the wonderful amenities and attractions that we do have. So thank you once again for joining me, Kevin.